guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of Writing Code. In this one we're going to be allowing our users to be able to get the existing to-do lists that they have. So if a user has created a list in the previous episode, that using the endpoint that we created in the previous episode, then this episode will allow them basically to get those lists out and just not care about adding them new every time. So so far we do have, every time you do a post, you do get the list out, you do get the item that you added out, but there's no way to kind of just get all the items out without being able to post things. And that's not necessarily like, we don't want to force people to add a new thing every time just to get it out, right? Because you just want to be able to get things. It's just like some time. So let's go back to our to-do list root and essentially add a new root endpoint. So this is quite an easy one, really. So this is going to be a router.get, and then here we've got our function with request and response. And in here, we'll essentially allow our users to be able to say, okay, so I've got, I just want to get all of them, so I don't really care which one at this point. I just want to get all the lists, right? So we'll delegate that logic down to our service, which will have a method called findAll. And in here, we'll basically just call that method and not really worry about what it does behind the scenes, as long as we get the list out. So pretty simple call. To-do list service.findAll, and then just pass the callback in. So just say, hey, when you find all of them, call me back on this function with two arguments, one being the error, and then the second being the to-do lists, right? And in here we'll say if there's an error, right, then just log the error, and then just return back 500. So. 500.send, and then just return back the array. So res.send under a key called to-do lists, to-do lists. Now you can send the array back directly, but I always prefer to send objects back with arrays inside the objects, right? So it just kind of like helps you manage expectations with the client, I think, in a kind of better way, because the clients then know they're always going to get an object out with a key, and that key being the list. And then you can also do some fancy stuff around that. You can have a last updated as a kind of like as a key on the same level, and then say, well, it was kind of like here, so last updated new date or something like that. I don't know, whatever. But it kind of leaves room to do all that fancy stuff without then having to change the structure. So if you've always been passing an array, and if a client always expects an array, but then you say, okay, you know what, I kind of want to add a new last update key to it, then you're chaining the whole array to a new object, and that will break the client service contract, the implicit contract that exists between them. And then you have very unhappy clients, or you have to do a major version upgrade, like /v2, and then kind of do it, which is again pain. But if you just leave the room open like this, and then say, I'm going to give you, for now, I'll give you the key called to-do lists with a array of lists, but then in future I might change things, but keep the structure relatively the same, that's okay, right? So right, so we've got a findAll method with the service. Let's quickly go to the service and then say, well, this .findAll is a function, find all to-do lists, and then this is the callback, right? So which accepts a callback, and then here we'll just basically just return out whatever is in the to-do lists var array here, right? So this is a private field, so we'll just say return callback. And then first is undefined, as if you remember, because that's it. That's the error field. We don't really have any errors, so we'll just say undefined. Everything's amazing all the time, and we'll add to-do lists, right? So that's pretty simple. So when this gets called, we'll call the callback with undefined as the error and with the lists from that as the second argument, which the root will get here. And then we'll basically send that out to the client. So save that, and let's see if that works. So that should work without any further changes happening to the actual client code. So let's cancel that one, terminate that, and then just run it again. So npm start. By default, our list is going to be empty because our post doesn't really add anything. So let's just http localhost 3000/list. Let's do a get on that, and we should get an empty array. Perfect. That's as expected. Let's go on to the other one and then do a quick quick post on that, and say this time I'm going to send you back the I'm going to try and add the housekeeping list into my to-do list. So we're going to try and send on that, and that's giving me a new ID with that ID 17ED6349, right? With the name housekeeping. And let's go back to here and then do a get on that, and then yay, we get back the object. So we now get all the lists back. Just make sure that we get all of them and not just the one that we added. Let's add another one called I don't know, shopping, and then things that I don't need, things that I don't need that I will spend money on that I don't have. Hopefully it will cheer me up every time I look at my list. So let's try and post on that and then see if that gets added. So this is a different ID, obviously, because it's not the 17ED1, I think. It's slightly different, clearly different. If you go back here and then do a let's send on that, we should get back both of them, and we do. Amazing. Right, so in this episode, we basically added a new endpoint for getting all the to-do lists. In the next one, we'll add a quick one, which will allow us to get one item from the list. So you can say, get me this by ID, this ID, and then we should get that item, right? So pretty simple. Can't wait. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.